The story of Freddy Jackson is perhaps one of the most convincing pieces of photo evidence that ghosts exist. For decades, the story has traveled from one paranormal book to another, and the internet is full of identical videos about the mystery of this picture. Let's briefly look at the facts. November 1918, Southern England, a Royal Air Force (RAF) training base. World War I is over. Hundreds of tired soldiers, pilots and mechanics gather to take a final photo of the squadron before it's closed. At first glance, there is nothing unusual, just a souvenir photo. But when the finished photo was put on the notice board, creepy rumors started spreading around the base. Behind one of the Iron Men, the pale, smiling face of a man without a head clearly appeared. The whole squadron said the same thing. It was Freddy Jackson. But there's one but. The air mechanic had tragically died right at this airfield just 3 days ago. He accidentally stepped into a spinning airplane propeller. Moreover, the photo was taken on the exact day of his funeral nearby. Basically, this is all the information you can find in dozens of identical YouTube videos. But we will do things differently. We will find out what might actually be wrong with this photo and if it really proves that ghosts exist. Unlike hundreds of questionable photos on the internet, a man with a perfect reputation guaranteed this picture. Sir Robert Victor Goddard was an air marshal, a British hero, and the former chief of air staff for the New Zealand Air Force. We should look closer at him because his personality is really important here. Victor Goddard went through 2 world wars and had a brilliant military career. By the way, in many sources the photo with Freddy Jackson's ghost is called Victor Goddard's photo, but this is wrong and we will return to this later. After retiring in 1951, Goddard focused on academic and public work. Until 1954, he led the prestigious College of Aeronautics, was on the board of famous schools, and from 1975 to 1984 he was the president of the Airship Association. But this respected official had another very specific interest. In retirement, he focused almost completely on studying paranormal phenomena. Goddard studied UFOs for years and gave lectures about them. For example, in May 1969 at Caxton Hall in London, he gave a famous speech where he openly supported the idea that flying saucers have a paranormal origin. He was so well known in these circles that he wrote introductions for other authors, books about mysticism, and in 1971 he helped create the Freddy Trust, an organization that promoted spiritual education. Moreover, Goddard truly believed he had psychic powers. There is a famous story about how he survived a plane crash because a few days before he heard about another officer's dream. That dream described in detail the crash of the plane Goddard was supposed to fly to Tokyo. Thanks to this dream, he reached in time and managed to safely land the damaged plane on the Japanese island of Sado. Unlike in the dream, no one was hurt. In Britain, they even made a movie about this called The Night My Number Came Up. Also, in 1935, according to the marshal himself, he experienced real-time travel. Flying through a strange cloud over a Scottish airfield, he saw yellow planes and blue uniforms of mechanics from the future, things that officially appeared in the RAF only years later. Finally, a long time later, in 1975, he described all these thoughts, including the stories about time shifts, telepathy and of course the Squadron photo in his main book Flight Towards Reality. Goddard claimed he personally studied the photo and the negative was checked for retouching or double exposure. The Besana studio, where the photo was developed, declared it absolutely clean. Over 200 people confirmed that it was their dead friend Freddy. It seems like the story could end here, because an officer of such a high rank would not lie. But what if we look a bit deeper? In 2015, American researcher and journalist Blake Smith from Skeptic magazine decided to check this 100-year-old legend. First, he bought access to official British genealogy databases and the War Graves Commission records to find any mention on that mechanic's death. If a person dies instantly from a propeller in front of the whole base, the military must record it. Smith checked all dead soldiers with the last name Jackson from that period. The result was surprising. There is no a single record in the official RAF files about an air mechanic named Freddy or Frederick Jackson dying at the base in November 1918. The only slightly similar soldier died 7 months earlier in a completely different city and from the heart failure in a hospital. Next, Smith found the rare original 1975 edition of Marshal Goddard's book and discovered a shocking detail. The photo was not even in the book. Goddard just described it in text. And the only living witness, a family driver named Bobby Capel, sitting in the middle row in the right, who confirmed the story to the press in 1996, did so when she was 97 years old. So what actually in the picture? Let's look at two simple, but much more realistic versions. Look closely at the man in the front row, Iron Man Walter Purdue. If we take the ghost's face and put it on top, the facial features, jawline and eye position match almost perfectly. At the beginning of the century, the Basana photo studio worked with fragile glass negatives. Maybe it was just a technical mistake during development, a small accidental shift on the light-sensitive layer on the plate, which caused the face of a living officer to be printed twice, shifted to the side and up. But here you will ask a fair question. The ghost is not wearing a hat, how is that possible? Well, let's look at the second version. There are about 80 people in the photo. The ground is wet after the rain and everyone is cold. Just before the camera clicks, someone in the back row realizes they dropped or forgot to put on the military cap. They quickly pans down, the photographer starts shooting with a long exposure, the man stands back up and only a blurry pale silhouette of a face without a head remains in the film. However, on Reddit, I found a couple of interesting discussions where people write that cameras at that time already had a fast shutter speed, so you didn't have to stand still for a long time. This makes the blurry silhouette version doubtful. Another guy on the same forums managed to see a second ghost right behind Freddy Jackson. Personally, I don't see it. So, who was that Fred? In reality, a real visitor from the afterlife or a random defect on an old film? We don't have a clear answer, but we can compare the facts. Many people write that the story was confirmed by Victor Goddard himself, a man with a perfect reputation. But let's be honest, we cannot check any of his stories about time travel. Goddard truly loved mysticism and might have genuinely believed in something that never happened. In fact, the photo's authenticity was confirmed by only one real witness, Bobby Capel, the woman in the bottom right row. But she did it at the age of 97. Two questions immediately came to my mind. First, why didn't Victor Goddard include this photo in his book? And second, why did everyone keep quiet about such a shocking and extraordinary event since 1918? Was it the spirit of a mechanic who decided to take a goodbye photo, or a collective illusion of people who were exhausted by the war and unconsciously looked for the faces of the dead friends in photo film defects? There is no exact answer yet, the facts are in front of you, so make your own conclusions. Write in the comments which version you believe. Stay there.